Hi, my name is Oscar, and I'm going to talk to you about tones and semitones today. So let's get started. Now, a tone and semitone refers to the distance between two adjacent notes. And we're going to use a keyboard as a way to visualize this easily because the keyboard has this kind of ladder of step by step. You move from one note to the other, very easy to follow. We're not going to learn the note names on the keyboard today. That will be for a different video. So stick with me for the next coming video, which will talk about all of that. For now, we're going to stick only to the concept of the tone and semitone. So this is a semitone. A semitone is also known as a half step. So what does that sound like? Let's check it out. It has a very particular sound. And a tone is also known as a whole step. Has more of a familiar sound, just like moving right to left. So let's talk about what they are exactly, right? Let's take a look at both. Okay, before we do this, let's pretend the bottom half of the keyboard doesn't exist. So you have a keyboard on the screen, or if you have a keyboard in front of you at home, please take a look at it and cover the bottom half with your arm, okay? Are you ready? Bam. This is what we are left with. Some alternating black and white stripes, but sometimes it's not black white strictly. Sometimes you have two white, and then you have again black and white, and two white, black and white, two white. It's a little pattern that you get, right? So having this new perspective on the keyboard is going to allow us to easily identify the adjacent notes. So let's talk about semitones or half steps, the ones that I just mentioned to you. Now, we're going to move in half steps. From this perspective, half steps or semitones are nothing more than going from one key to the very next one, right? So you go from white to black to white to black to white, and then here you go to white. It's the very next one. Then you go again to black, white, black, white, black, white, and then again you move to white from a white. And then black, white, same thing again, this little pattern, and then until you get to the end. Now, once we come back to our original perspective on the keyboard, we're going to see how the half step semitones actually look when we go to play them on a keyboard and what they sound like as well. So where you're going in a ladder kind of up and down because that's the easy way to play the keyboard, right? That's why the keys are longer at the bottom so that you can comfortably play them. So let's see this. Okay, we got to the end of that. So that's what that sounds like. It almost sounds like it's the smallest gradual, increment of sound that you can have on a keyboard or in the Western tonal system. Okay, now what are the whole steps or tones? Sometimes they're also called whole tones, but you can just call them tones. All right, so the tone, as we talked about, sounds very interesting once you play a whole tone scale, which is what we're going to do right now. So, going back to pretending that the keyboard doesn't have the bottom half, we're going to move in tones or whole steps. Now, from this perspective, tones or whole steps are nothing more than moving from one key to the next by skipping one key in between. So let's see, we have a white note. We're going to skip the black note and go to the next white note. Now we're going to skip the next black note and go to the white note. Now here we're going to skip the white key because it's not the very next key. I mean, it's the very next key, and we're not going to play that. We're going to play the key after that, which is the black key. So now we're going to skip one key, which is the white key, and go to the black. Same skip, Okay, now we're going to skip the black key and arrive at a white key instead of another black key. And the pattern continues. So we skip one, okay, we skip one, we skip one, we skip one, we skip one. Okay, and what that would look like and sound like on a keyboard. Now, first of all, this is kind of a cool scale because it gives it a very, very dreamy sound to, to the scale. So if you were to play anything just using whole steps, which is using a whole step scale, it's called, you would get very interesting, dreamy kind of sounds, and you can't play a note wrong, which is kind of funny. But here we go. Let's listen to it. Okay, now that you know all of that, I'm going to play for you the half tone or semitone scale, sorry, half step or semitone scale, so that you can hear it. Okay. That's what that the half step or semitone scale sounds like. Now let's listen to the whole step scale. It almost takes you into a kind of dreamy realm, doesn't it? Okay, let's do a little bit of practice. Before that, let's reiterate what we just learned. Now, key one to key two are a semitone or a half step from each other since they are right next to one another. Okay, and this is now us looking at a keyboard without thinking, pretending the bottom doesn't exist. Okay, a half step is not always from a black key to a white key. In the example below, they're still adjacent to one another by a half step, but now they're two white keys, right? It's white key and white key. It's not white and black. Okay. Now, a tone or whole step is the same distance as two semitones or half steps. What do I mean by that? Well, key one to key three is a whole step, as you see on the screen. Of course, from key one to key two is the first half step. And then from key two to key three is the second half step. And that makes a whole step, right? Half plus half is one. Okay, good. Now, let's do a little bit of practice. Let's see. We're going to move up one tone from this note, one tone or whole tone, as you like to call it. So, the easiest way to think about it is in the smallest measure, which is in this case the semitone, right, or the half step. So let's go by semitones or half steps. One half, and then that makes one. Okay, so we moved up one tone from this note. Good. So we moved from F to G. Okay. What about this? We're going to move up one semitone from this note. So remember, it should be the very next note. There you go. Great. Now we're going to move up one tone and one semitone, or one tone and a half, from this note. So the way that we do this is we count by the smallest amount. So if we have one tone is two semitones, so two semitones plus one, we have to go three. Okay, that's what it is. That's one tone and a half. Now, here we're going to move down three whole steps from this note. Notice I'm not calling it tone anymore. I'm calling it whole step. So we're going to count in half steps. All right? That's half. That's one. One and a half. Two. Two and a half. And then that's three. Okay, we got that one. Now, let's go to this one. We're going to move down four half steps from this note. Okay, so let's count. One. Okay? One, two, three, four. So we got our four half steps. Okay. Now, in the next video, I'm going to teach you how to properly notate these shifts in steps and half steps as written in music. And they're called accidentals. So we're going to talk about that in the next video. In the meantime, have a great day, study hard, and I'll see you on the next one.